Okay. This consciousness is designed to facilitate our evolution, right? This is a training school, but this is a really good school. It's not one of those schools you just get thrown in and, sink or swim. This school, the system, is trying to help us succeed because we are its strategy for survival. We're its strategy for lowering its entropy. Remember, you either evolve or you de-evolve. You evolve or die. That's the way it is with any complex system. So we're its strategy, broke into pieces. Pieces interact, gives us the ability to lower our entropy, grow toward love, and the system wants us to succeed because our success is its success. Okay, conscious intent changes the probabilities because you are consciousness. Okay, now we all experience this in a whole lot of different ways. Those of you who have green thumbs, it's because you relate to your plants. You have a relationship with your plants. You love your plants. You care about them. Okay? Why does that help them grow? Because you have a very positive intent toward that plant. Your positive intent changes the probability of what that plant's going to do in the future. Your intent changes future probability. That's how we heal. It's the same way. We use our focused intent to change the probability of how that disease or injury is going to progress in the future. Intent changes future probability. Remember we had this future probability database? We can modify what's probable in that database by using our intent because we're consciousness. And intent is the thing that moves data. It's what transmits and receives. It's your intent is the motive force in consciousness. All right, people that talk to their car, people who really love their car, and they look at that gas gauge and it's on empty, and they say, come on, sweetheart, there's a gas station just a mile down the road. You can get me there, baby, this sort of thing. Well, the car usually gets them there if they have that kind of relationship with their car, because by that positive intent, they raise the probability that they're going to make it to the gas station. If it's, oh no, you stupid car, how could you run out of gas? Like it's the car's fault, right? That's is more likely to end up in a hike to the gas station, because that then creates a higher probability that you're not going to make it. Okay, now we all do this. My friend Dennis Menerick, who I mentioned, that started this with me, he works in a place that's very, very hard to find parking spaces. I imagine that applies to a lot of you too. What he does is before he ever leaves home, he starts to visualize a parking space. So when he gets to where he's going, he sees a car backing out just as he gets there, because if it backed out 30 seconds before he got there, somebody else would get in it first. So he sees that, and he says that the statistics he keeps on it, that about 80% of the time it's successful, and that when he doesn't do it, about 80% of the time he can't find a parking space. All of you do things like that. I mean, this is natural. Why do people do this kind of stuff with their mind? They kind of program, there's going to be a picnic next Sunday. I want the weather to be good. And you and everybody else in the picnic puts this energy into the weather being good. Well, it called for rain or whatever, but suddenly the weather gets good. It's because you can modify the probabilities. What about the placebo effect? Right? Very scientific effect in medicine. If you give people a sugar pill or a wonderful new pharmaceutical and you tell them that this is a great pill and it's going to solve their problem and it's going to make them healthy, about 35% of the people take the sugar pill, get better. And it's not just that they think they get better, they physically get better. Matter of fact, the pharmaceuticals are having a harder and harder time beating the placebo effect because they have to beat it in order to be able to market their product. That's a test they have to go through. It's a double-blind test that they have to pass, otherwise their medicine is deemed no better than sugar. You see, it's not really medicine at all. Well, how does that work? It's a positive intent. You tell somebody, here's a new magic pill, it's going to help you. That gives them intent. It's positive. Suddenly they feel like, this is going to fix me. This is my solution. They get better. Okay? That's real medicine. Makes people better. Placebo effect. It's the same thing. Conscious intent modifies future probability. All right, now look at some more kind of systematic things. You've heard of the power of positive thinking. Norman Vincent Peale, 1950-something, 56 or 7, wrote a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. And it's perfectly obvious. If you think very positive about things, your life is going to be more positive. I mean, everybody knows that. If you're somebody that thinks very negatively about everything, you tend to have a lot of misery and things don't work out too well for you. You make your own reality this way. So not only do you make it by interpreting your own reality, you actually generate a different set of probabilities for yourself based on your intent. Okay. Prayer. Okay, there's been any number of studies where they take the control group and the experimental group and have a bunch of people pray for the experimental group, and do they get better? Often it's a health issue or not. And they have found that yes, prayer works. Yes, it does affect people. It's the same thing. Except now not only do you have one person with that intent, you got a bunch of people with that intent. It's additive. Law of attraction. Some of you have probably heard of that. Probably all of you have heard of that. Same sort of thing. You're supposed to use your mind, your intent to, and I think these people say the universe will deliver, what you want. Well, it's not the universe. The universe is just an imaginary thing. It's data. It's consciousness system. Okay, and that is the way the consciousness system works. It modifies the realities. But now listen, folks, the consciousness system is a system that is here to help you lower your entropy. That means decrease your fear and decrease your ego. Ego is just a derivative of fear, as is belief. Okay? Now you're going to take a system that's designed to decrease your ego, and you're going to use it to program it to aggrandize your ego. You're asking the system to work against itself. That's not going to work out too well for you. A lot of times that backfires. What will happen is that you may or may not get what you asked for, but you'll probably get a lesson along with it. And that happens a lot. I had this one guy came up to me in Costa Mesa after I'd given this, and I gave him a different example. And he says, consciousness has always been playing games, playing jokes on me. And he said he had gotten into this law of attraction. And he said, one of the things I had is I wanted to be bigger, stronger, more powerful physically, and so on. He says, so I spent a lot of time with this image of myself as a big, buff He-Man type, and this very small, woman by my side. He says, that was my image. That's what I wanted to be. So, is this ego? It's pretty obvious, right? So this is what he wanted. He put a lot of effort into it. And he says, you know what happened in about 4 months? He says, my wife got anorexic and got really, really small. So, he says, this has been going on my whole life. He says, well, his whole life he's been chasing his ego, with his mind, and that's what I mean. You don't ask the system to work against itself. You will just get a lesson out of it, even if you get what you want. Okay, so, all right. Synchronicity. This is where it starts to get more interesting. Synchronicity and other anomalies of a statistically based system. Okay, remember we said that there were 2 things you had to do. You had to not violate the rule set. You can't have things float up because the rule set says we have gravity, and you have to maintain a historical continuity. You can't suddenly have things jumping around and changing into other things, right? So if you have, those are only 2 conditions. If either of those conditions are weak, in other words, there's not a lot of data to specify them, that gives you an opportunity for multiple solutions. If both of those positions are really strong, there's a lot of data to do that, then there's an objective result. But when you have a weak history, let's say, that's the one that's generally weak. When you have a weak history, then you can have multiple solutions. Well, what does this mean? How many of you have ever laid down your glasses or your car keys someplace, let's say on your desk while you were there working? You got up, you come back 4 or 5 hours, you're looking for your glasses or your keys, and they're not on your desk. You know that's where you left them. You're sure that's where you left them, but they're not on your desk. Well, what's happened there? 1, it might be you just have a poor memory. You walked off and left them someplace else. But 2, nobody took a picture of your desk to see that you had glasses on it. That data is kind of weak. All you have is your memory. And we know memories, memories aren't that good. So the data isn't very strong in a system. Now you go make a measurement. You go look at your desk for your glasses. That's the measurement. Okay, what happens? The system goes into the database and says, let's pull out a probability, right? Like it does with the slit. Let's take a measurement. What's the probability? Well, the probability is not a steep probability. Flip to the next slide for just a moment. Okay, this is the way that works. So this is the probability of a random draw selecting a specific state of thing 1. Thing 1 could be where you put your glasses, right?